YouTubers, Mike Martin's here, Mike Martin's channel. I'm gonna hurry up and read this article before I freeze to death out here. It's like -5. Anyways, yeah, it's the coldest I've ever seen in BC in my entire life. But in Vancouver, I mean. Anyways, this is a really shocking article that was sent to me by 4 different people. Sent me this article, and they want me to cover it on my show. BC shoppers among the hardest hit for food price increase in 2017. Annual forecast of Canada's food prices predicts BC residents will be among the hardest hit by increases in grocery store aisles. Do you guys remember a year ago I made a video talking about, is it just me or am I out of my tree, or is the cost of food going up through the roof? Like I told you, the cost of food costs more than my rent. So if you add up the cost of food for the entire month, with baby formula and all that stuff, it actually comes out to more than what I pay for rent. Let's continue here. The report was released by Dalhousie University on Monday and compiled by researchers including lead author Sylvian Charaboyos from the Schools of Faculty of Management and Agriculture. Charaboyos' research suggests that Canadians coast to coast can expect to pay between 3 or 5% more for food in 2017. Well, it's a big surprise. We always pay more for food. Typically, the impact of the rate of inflation of food is priced between 2%, but this year's higher than usual forecast is largely blamed on the impact of falling loonie on the country's imports and significant amount of food. Overall, Canadians can expect to pay an additional $420 per family. But some parts of the country are expected to be hit harder. British Columbia and Ontario are expected higher than average increases, the report says. Those provinces will see the largest increases due to the level of competitiveness in food retailing and the state of overall economy. Lower prices are expected in Newfoundland, Labrador, New Brunswick, Quebec, Manitoba, and Alberta because the weak provincial economies or more comprehensive distribution. So you know what this is telling you? The provinces that are more stable have to pay more for food. That's what this is telling me. The provinces that are unstable, like Newfoundland, Prince Edward Island, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Quebec, Manitoba, and Alberta, and Saskatchewan and the Northwest Territories won't be affected by it. It's just basically Ontario and British Columbia. So you see where this is going? I think this is just an increase. So, like I told you before, maybe 2 months ago, they're going to increase. Go ahead, government. Raise the taxes on these big food corporations. You know what they're going to do? Turn around. Raise the price of food. We're paying more taxes now. We still pay in the end. You could get the because it's not free market. Because there's 3 or 4 different food companies that control all the food. If there were thousands of food companies and thousands of delis and tens of thousands of different sources to buy food, I'm talking about from a distributor, then you would see more competitive pricing going back and forth. Because there's like Tyson Meats, there's like 5 companies that control everything. It's very hard for them to compete with each other with price when they own everything. So that's become a problem. So there's no more free market. Yeah, there's a free market for the extremely filthy rich. Let me continue here. The report also looked at what Canadians will spend most on. Prices are expected to increase between 4 and 6% for meat, vegetables, fish, seafood, and all other food items. Pork, in particular, is expected to increase in price, and forecasted demand means that there's potential for beef price to rise as well. Dairy, eggs, bakery products, and other cereals will increase up to 2%, while fruits and nuts may increase up to 5%, the report suggests. Prices on restaurants menus also expected to rise as much as 4% in 2017, an increase Cheryl Bias blames on less regulatory pressure coming from the United States of America. So it goes back to what I was telling you guys earlier originally, that it's not like a free market. Like back when I was a kid, like in the early 80s, you would see a ton of butcher shops. But not butcher shops, but the ones that dealt with specific farms. There would be a butcher shop on every 2 corners. You know how you see a Starbucks? Okay, Starbucks, Basically, picture that as a butcher shop on every other. There would be a butcher shop, independent, working with specific farms, working with and then they would get specific orders from specific different suppliers around. Now, the whole butcher industry is like pretty much, like I said, disintegrated into like 4 major distributors in North America, which is very bizarre. Another thing people need to look at is there has to be some sort of way to offset the economy, or to make, not offset, but raise the economy. And my what I want to put in there is basically what I want to throw in my hat and say, basically, why don't we start producing more in our country and start advertising made by a local Canadian, buy from a Canadian, like Detroit did back in the mid 80s when people were buying Hondas and Toyotas. So what they did was they went ahead and made a bumper sticker said, buy from a local American and keep your brother working, right? And that made a lot of sense. So that's what we should start doing, is start producing. It doesn't matter what we produce. Anything. People are willing to pay the extra dollar to support a local Canadian company. I think people would be. I was talking about razors. Opening a razor company, selling razors for men. And just being on par with, because some companies like Gillette are so friggin' expensive, but if you can be on par with Gillette and produce a same superior razor as them, an example, and made in the Canadian owned, you'll see other companies diminish. But governments won't allow that to happen. Even though we're supposed to be living in a free market, that won't be allowed to happen, because I think there will be somebody up above will put their finger on it and shut it down. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. How would is this going to affect you guys? Or basically, is everyone just going to get a raise of 10% right across the board to make up for the extra they have to pay for food? Because I don't know where things are headed. Because I mean, a lot of people are just not making the money. The money's not coming in, and like I said before, unless the money's falling from heaven, and people are getting money from heaven, expensive housing prices, expensive food prices now. And it's this typical thing. When a province looks like it's unstable, what they do is they pick on the richer provinces to pay more in gasoline, to pay more in food, to pay more in electricity and stuff. So that's how they basically balance the economy. But that's the worst way to balance. The best way, and I'm going to say it again, is production. Producing anything. Trump's gotten a whole bunch of steel workers' jobs back in the United States. He's managed to save a bunch of the carrier company. He managed to save those jobs from going away to Mexico. So, I mean, the United States is putting things, plans into motion to actually keep jobs within their borders. Anyways, I'll leave a link below to the article. I'm freezing. I'm going inside. Let me know. Is this going to affect you or not? Bye.